We are back. Giants baseball, past, present, and future. The host of the show is Timmy Haller. I'm Ralph Tyko. I'm kind of the George Fenneman to the Groucho Marx. And we got a Giant Dodger game going on as we are doing a show. It's 3-2 Dodgers, 3-2 Giants, top of the seventh in L.A. Saturday night, it is 6/11/16. So we're keeping you on top of things. I'm going to post this show as soon as it's completed. And I'm happy that we have a guest. He's an old friend of Timmy's, and his name is Patrick Quinlan. And Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.
Oh. Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
No,
welcome. Timmy, tell us how you guys became acquainted and under what circumstances you worked together in heaven, in the briar patch. Right? I mean,
exactly.
That's the truth.
Right.
It is. It's like a dream now. I mean, it was a dream, really. I met Patrick Quinlan. I think I was about 1975. I was 12 years old. Patrick was working for Eddie Logan as the head bat boy for the San Francisco Giants. He took care of everything. Man, Patrick did everything. If you needed something, the next day you would have it. It would be all bright and shiny. He was kind of like Aladdin's lamp without the lamp. And it's my pleasure and a joy to have you with us, Patrick. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for including me, man. I just go, boy, Giants Dodgers, it couldn't have been a better perfect timing other than we just walked in the third run to tie here. So.
Yeah. Hey, Ralph, if you're gonna broadcast any games, Ralph, make sure you tell them what city they're actually playing in.
Yes.
You said they were in Los Angeles.
Timmy, I am getting better. I need guidance all the time. Just to stay afloat, I need someone's guidance. You mentioned the name that you worked for Eddie Logan. Now, when I was a kid growing up in New York, I happened to be a Giant fan, and it was the 50s, and they were the New York Giants, and at that time, Eddie Logan lived in an apartment, a small little apartment in the Polo Grounds. And I don't know if he ever related stories to you guys about those days, but he basically raised his kids in, unless Eddie Logan Jr. is the guy you're talking about, he raised his kids in the Polo Grounds. Their backyard was center field. Great icon in Giants history. He was there from the start. So tell me about your experience with Eddie Logan and how you got the job of working with him, Patrick.
Well, God is good, number one. The prayer pretty much since I was born and was, my mom just started me into baseball. And next thing you know, the only games you could really watch were when the Giants and Dodgers played. That was it. So by that point on, it's doing box scores out of the Chronicle. I would do my own with a ruler and school paper and had home games and road games so I could really get dialed with all the stats because I love talking ball, playing ball, just talking. I was one of those chatterboxes. Dude, don't be dogging on Tito, or what are you talking about on Willie? He'll be all right. Or Bobby's fine. He's 9 for his last 25, but he struck out like 6 in a row, whatever. So I kept on loving it, Then after the 74 season, and like about a week after the season, and the 70s were lean. So 74 was not fun. Yeah, as I told my mom, I said, Mom, can you just give me right after the stick? It was like a Monday afternoon. It was a typical October day in the city, and just deserted like a ghost town. It was really cool, and I've been out there many times.
What part of the city did you grow up in, and where did you go to school?
Over at Mill Valley. I went to Camel Pies High School.
Okay.
So just cruised out there. Yeah, just cruised out there, and the clubhouse door was open, and I kind of saw the big sign, you know, clubhouse, Giants clubhouse, no admittance, that whole deal. And I'm all, no, I'm going through there. I'm supposed to be here. And marched in, and Eddie Logan was just there piddling around his office there with nobody in the clubhouse. Players are long gone. And I said, my name is Patrick Quinlan. I've been writing you letters for 4 or 5 years. Nobody deserves this job more than me. So I helped him for about 7 hours. He goes, well, give me a hand. And Eddie was at the tail end of his career. Give me a hand. We got a bunch of these work to do. We got to clean these lockers, do all this, roll up all these carpets and paint the lockers and get all the extra stuff out of players' lockers that they forgot that go into tray trunks, which were used by every team then that they would put a lot of players' stuff that they left the following year or they came to the clubhouse after the season that they ordered either like gloves or bats from Louisville or Adirondack or whatever. Anyways, all this stuff would always go into trade trunks and go into spring training. So I did 7 hours, and after I was done, he goes, well, my senior bat boy left. You got the job. Be here, March, 24th, but you can stop by any time. And then he told me about workouts that the players have at Candlestick 3 days a week in January. And at that time, in all of the baseball cities, players lived in the area. Now they're exclusive in mostly Florida and Arizona. So there's the gig, and the first Monday in January.
You just had the moxie to go in and ask.
Correct.
See, that's a life's lesson for everybody out there listening, for kids out there, that if you ask for what you want 100% of the time, you may not get it, but asking is putting it out there is the whole thing, and that works with meeting people, that works with jobs, that works socially in every way, and I like that. It served you well, asking and putting it out there. Now, how did you two guys meet?
Oh, just
Patrick.
Probably what was great, the 4 years I was there, we had 4+ years I was there, we had Bill Rigney and Joe Altobelli and Dave Bristol, and then all the coaches I met. So Timmy's dad was one of the coaches with Jimmy Davenport, Herm Starrett, and Hank Sauer, who was a hitting instructor and all that stuff. So next thing you know, I Hatchet, who was Tom Haller's nickname, and who was a hell of a Giant, and was just clutch, left side, good sized guy, and all that stuff. And of course, his brother was Bill Haller, the great umpire in the American League. So here comes this kid coming with Hatchet, with Tim Haller. He was just a little kid. Well, where I'm from and how I was raised, you treat everybody the same. Well, I just took charge, because those Januaries of going out every day in January, that got me really acclimated, because over the course of that January, that first year in 75, I was able to really get a feel about not being nervous, and I pretty much had that, but nothing like what they taught me in that short amount of time. So I'd go, what can I get you? Anything I can get you, sodas, ice cream, gum, anything like that. And he would just be dressing with his dad, this little guy, his uniform, has his glove. We just shagged in the outfield and would watch the games on the bench and just do odds and ends and whatever you needed. And because it's kind of like it's a service business. Now I look back on that, but then it was just you got the job, you got this blessed job, because I didn't know anybody. You just treat everybody as you would want to be treated. So I think from that point on, there was never any stuff like he thought, oh, he's tripping just because I'm Tom Haller's son. It's nothing about that. That's the best family in sports, baseball. It's the best family. The best family. So you take care of Tom Haller's son. That's his son. So
right.
From that point on, and then we lost touch for years, and then Facebook is awesome, and we just started touching base, and I go, dude,
Hey, let me tell you this though, Ralph. He's hit me up already for about $5,700 in tips. He told me I owed him $5,700 in tips, so I've got to come up with some money when next time I see him because he would polish my shoes and he'd hang my uniform up and he would do everything. He'd get my bazooka bubble gum and I'll tell you what. There's one thing I recall. It's more than anything about Patrick. It was his level of energy. He would run around that place like the Energizer Bunny. He like 3 minutes ago, I could have sworn he was in left center field shagging, and 3 minutes later, he's in the trainer's office getting something, or trainer's room getting something for one of the ball players. That's.
Was he the guy that taught you about the key to the batter's box?
Yeah.
I believe he had something to do with that. Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
This is legendary.
I'm just wondering who it was because you've come a long way, both of you. Tell me about Hank Sauer. You mentioned him, and he was a guy who was nice enough to do an interview on cable television with me when I had a series of interviews with people, coaches, sports writers, scouts, players from the 50s. I did it at Cal State Hayward in the 90s. And
outstanding.
Yeah, Hank came in and was. If anybody ever saw Hank Sauer, and you see him initially, he's an intimidating guy. He has a glare in his eye, and then you shake hands with him, say hello, and he's the warmest, most gentle guy. He was, rest his soul.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any Hank Sauer stories that you might throw me with?
Well, they called his nickname was Honker because Hank Sauer had one of the biggest schnozzes in the history of Major League Baseball.
Right.
And as they say back in the day, he could hit a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So Honker.
All right.
And we would sit on the bench. The greatest times were when the Spec Richardson was the GM then, and all three managers with Rigney, Altobelli, and Bristol, is when the Giants go out to field, now you got a vacant dugout. You can sit. There's a lot of spaces to sit. So I just sit wherever I wanted because I'm going to take full advantage of talking with, if Madlock's not playing today or Matthews isn't playing or if somebody's day-to-day or whatever, you get to talk with it. And just the talks about hitting about Hank Sauer, who knew tons of hitting. So I asked him about Jack Clark, and he just went off on Jack and just how lucky the Giants were to draft him. And, of course, the great George Genovese drafted him, God rest his soul. And he's just talking, he goes, look. Because when you watch next time Jack hits, everything from start to finish is just like Jody. I mean, that's the inside stuff. It was just every day. So, and he wasn't here all the time because he was a Rover guy.
Right. I just ended, when I was a kid, I wrote a book. I wrote a book. I haven't read a book, colored a book for crying out loud. But I did read a book, and it was called something like The Yankee Bat Boys, written by a former Yankee bat boy. And wow, I mean, just you guys lived that life of just being on the inside, seeing what was happening. And they were, as you say, lean days for the Giants. 74, 75. Bill Rigney came back, and this is when Laurie was selling the team. Am I right?
Correct.
And
they got the team back.
It wasn't a happy year because they really weren't. It was a Bud Herseth year.
Exactly.
And, it was tough, but the characters on the Giants. You had Mike Sadik going on. You had my dear friend John DeQuisto.
Yeah.
coming up. What good times. And, win, lose, or draw, it's a game. It's baseball. It's fun. So, it's like saying, well, what's the worst pizza you ever had? It was delicious. That kind of thing. Even you're out there at the ballpark and you're being a part of it. Got to be great. Where did it lead you in life, Patrick? What happened when you left? Where did it open that kind of thing? Open gates for you? Open doors for you?
Well, you know what? In those in that type of situation, you could also look up a book called Neil Isaac. He has the 20 years about bat boys, and it's about every decade in the history of baseball. He does all these interviews with bat boys from all teams. Neil Isaac, the 20 years.
I have had that. It's a brown covered book.
Correct.
And it's in my my stuff.
Okay, check it out because he called me one day. All of a sudden, well, it kind of did. It kind of did. This is what it led into. 79, I had a friend of mine call me in the winter and goes, no, actually, January of 80. Dude, you want to move to L.A.? I go, what are you talking about? Now, in those days, you're just around the ballpark all year round. If Eddie Logan says, I got to let you go, that's where it would come from. So, I knew Eddie loved me because he told me several times I was the best he ever had. And he and his dad, of course, 100 years in baseball. So I knew that kind of going in about the history, too, and just bust your ass, just like they tell players, be quiet and just put your head down, grind it out, boom, 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 listen and pick up. Next thing you know, you're taking on all the responsibility, and it wasn't work because it's a dream gig. So I tell a buddy of mine, sure, I'll move to L.A., and I regret it forever, but I moved back up after 8 years in L.A., going to school and running Roundtable Pizzas in the San Fernando Valley. All fun, all good, but I'm at 60 Dodger games a year because I stayed and had all those connections. Because one of the years I did a lot of stuff for the Empire. So you'd call them up to hotels. I know how to get a hold of these guys. In those days, it was easy, no sales, but you just call Wilshire Hyatt or you just call their room and you know what times of the day to call and all that stuff. So you're always getting will call tickets. So then I wake up one day, I'm like 86 and move back home. And 4 months later, my brother calls me up about a neighbor of his that had a little tavern that he bought this building because he's one of those savvy guys. He buys kind of dead buildings because he can fix them up or apartment complexes or whatever. So he had this bar called the Flatiron. So my brother calls me and goes, you want to open this bar? I'm all, well, I don't drink. Dude, come on, man. I don't know. I'm still trying to get back into baseball still because I'm back home now. So next thing you know, I'm starting to bartend, and we're doing $40 a night, and we're only open 5 to 9. My brother Michael is culinary educated from Hyde Park, New York, so big deal. And we start creeping into the sports thing. So I go pro, man. This is not happening. I'm not working 4 nights a week, and I'm walking out with $10, and there's nobody coming in here. He's just kind of getting disenchanted. Like I didn't care because I'm just giving this a shot. I don't really find myself going to be in this trade for very long. The next thing you know, I start bringing up all my memorabilia because in those days, all you could do is just ask a player. You go up to McCovey, say that Larry Herndon, Darrell Evans, Jack Clark, John LeMaster, Mark Hill, Rob Andrews, Halicki, any of those guys.
Darryl Thomas. How about Darryl Thomas?
Darryl Thomas.
I'm just thinking, I'll bet he made a great impression on you. He's one of the most wonderful
guys.
Right?
Guy Shulars.
Oh, man. Can I tell you guys a quick story about Darryl Thomas?
Oh, yeah. He's one of my all-time buddies.
All right. I watched him manage in the first game in professional baseball history that two blacks, two African Americans, managed against each other. It was in Bend, Oregon, and it was the Bend Bucks, and I don't
like Billings or something.
Remember. Yeah. Pardon me.
Yeah, like Billings or something. He was with the Reds. He was.
Yeah, it's up in the
League.
north. This is the Northwest League back in the 90s or late 80s.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me that because Frank Robinson never managed against another black, and it was like I say, I got to see that game with my own eyes on a Friday night.
Awesome.
And I was the tops rep at that time up in the Northwest League in California. So next day I brought him a bunch of cards.
That's great.
Yeah, I brought him a bunch of cards and bubble gum from Bazooka, and I'm a Jew boy, so I can appreciate stuff like that. And I just, to me, that was overwhelming. I just teared up. I said, I'm sorry it took so long. He looked at me and says, I'm sorry a lot of things took so long. That was a great line. I'll never forget it.
Daryl became a manager of the Crushers up there in Sonoma for a minute too.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know that Mitchell did. I didn't.
Yeah.
That got by me and I wish it hadn't, because I supported the Crusher. I'd go up there and a lot, and wow, I didn't know that. Do you happen to know where he is now?
In L.A., he's at like it's like a charter school or something teaching baseball. I gotta dig out. I gotta call him at some point. I'll reach out.
I'd love to get him back on the show or not back on the show, and talk about his life and all of it.
Well, Daryl was a great athlete. You know, he was this great athlete, and he's from all those great South Central schools. You know, Locke and Dorsey and all those schools that produced Eddie Murray and Ozzie and all these guys. And Daryl could just flat out play. You know, switch hitter. And, you know, had a little more.
A lot of positions. Very flexible. Played a lot of positions. Think he caught a little bit in emergencies.
He could. But you know,
and was he not traded?
Him and Mitchell. Huh?
Did he come in the Dodger? Did he come from the Dodgers or a Dodger trade with the Giants?
Padres.
Padres. Okay.
Padres, Giants, Dodgers. You know, Angels, Expos.
Right. Okay.
I really liked him. He
had a smile that would light it up, and he had a spirit that was terrific. So that's one of the things about baseball. You meet guys that you never forget, and that you'd like to know out of baseball, or you'd like them as people if they had nothing to do with, you know, under different circumstances. So
yeah, they it's the greatest family because, you know, you work your ass off and you just know your place. Because there's so much pressure, you know, you just know your place. Like Eddie Logan had a rule. Now, if the Giants lose, the names are out on the locker. The name is out on the outside of the locker on the hook. Giants win, it's Giants all the way around, 25 guys plus coaches. If you lose, Montefusco's name, Evans out there, Thomas is out there, Herndon's out there, Clark's out there, Whitfield's out there, Hill's out there, Sadek's out there, Johnny Lee's out there, Ivy's out there, and McCovey's out there. Doesn't matter. But when you win, it's all Giants. So there's things because
Mike Ivy taking over from McCovey. That didn't quite work
Poison,
out
man.
the way.
He was clutch. He was clutch, you know, and the great Grand Slam, 78 was the great, you know, 3 good years, you know, 70, 71, 78. Those are good years in the decade, but it was tough. But
yeah, it was a tough decade.
But Ivy hit that pinch hit slammer, you know.
I do recall that quite a bit, but I do also recall seeing McCovey in a San Diego uniform, and that wasn't right.
That was bizarre.
As a matter of fact, I have vivid memory. I happened to be back in New York, went out to Shea Stadium, and San Diego was coming into play, and I was in the parking lot, and just like when I was a kid, go out there and see who you can spot, maybe get an autograph, or And there comes off the team bus, comes hand in hand on the San Diego Padres, comes Willie Davis and Willie.
Yeah. God bless him.
And that, it's just, that reminded me of when I was a kid and the Giants traded Sal Maglie to the Dodgers. Just, they don't look right in different uniforms and all of that.
Isn't that something?
Kind of like Tom Howard in Dodger uniform.
No, that was incorrect.
That was wrong.
Right.
That was wrong. I think still to this day, I think of the morning or the afternoon I came home from kindergarten, and all these guys were out in front of the house and in the front hallway of our house, and these reporters and photographers, and it was January, I think it was 68, and I'm coming home from school with my brother. And my mom and my brother are sitting on the landing of the stairway upstairs, to go upstairs, and my mom kind of motions me to come over and sit by her. I crawl through these big monumental men with big old flash cameras and notepads, and I asked my mom, "What's going on?" And my mother said, "Your father got traded." I said, "Oh, really? Well, what team is he going to?" She said, "He got traded to the Dodgers." And I said, "He's not going to go play for the bad guys." that was the worst day of my life ever.
Oh, God. Because that was the era that they really hated each other.
Oh, absolutely. They hate each other now, though.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, pure, low, that because the Dodgers won more World Series in that decade, the great Dodger pitching, the Dodger way, Drysdale and Koufax and Peronowski and all these guys, and Willie Davis and Wes Parker and all these guys, and,
Norm Sherry.
It was very Hollywood. It was a lot different than the blue-collar people in San Francisco, I'll tell you. When you're sitting in relative close proximity to guys like Walter Matthau, et cetera.
Yeah.
And everybody's got, Doris Day's got her hair up when that whatever they called that hairdo.
Yeah.
It was a completely different element back then. Completely.
Well, it was almost like going to a basketball game became later on with the Knicks and what have you. You almost showed up, the celebrities would show up more to be seen than to watch the game a lot of times. But then there were, with the Dodgers, Doris Day, you mentioned her, she was a fan. There were a whole bunch of those folks who were tremendous fans.
He was a fan of Maury Wills, I know that.
Yes.
Right?
Well, I didn't say anything. Hey, Maury, you didn't hear me say that.
No,
but you know what?
I'm sure he'd smile at the memory.
He would. He would.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was down there. It was so much different. And at the time when the O'Malleys owned the organization, as opposed to their leadership now, it was such a great experience for our family. I know that they were great. It was great. But something
like the Niners of the '80s.
Exactly. But after it was all said and done, and years later, the cream rises to the top, and the Giants have established themselves as probably one of the greatest baseball organizations in all the game, because of their approach and their philosophy and mission of family and togetherness, and they never forget anybody. They just don't. And that's what sets the Giants apart from the Dodgers.
Well, class act, and that's touche, because we got two more. They got 5 World Series rings. We got 3. So we got some work to do. But the class, this is great stuff, because when you start getting to the point of great leadership and you get Sabian, all of a sudden you start developing, you get the cornerstone in the franchise king of Posey, is that this is the Giant way. just like in the 60s.
Right.
Well, it's
Just
not
like
just
in
the
60s
60s,
with your
it's the
dad
50s, and they honor the 50s. I might have mentioned this before, but the Mets don't even honor the Mets, let alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Ralphie.
You there, Ralph?
Oh, shit.
Boy.
We lost him. What the heck?
Oh, you lost Ralph. Here I am.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
We got you.
We're worried sick about you. We're worried sick about you.
Yeah, Patrick started running around the clubhouse underneath all the
French
stools.
Ricky would have said it. That's addition by subtraction. Losing me. But I do want to point out, and I'm a Met fan. I'm a Giant apologist. They left me when I was 11 years old. They came out here, did the Giants. But I still love them. And they honor the New York Giants. They have a wall. If you go to AT&T, they have a wall, and all the old stars are honored. Again, I appreciate that from just as a fan, that you can go there. And so it's become one big franchise. And even in my own head, I accept the fact that the New York Giants are the San Francisco Giants.
San Francisco is the new New York. How's that, Ralph? San Francisco is the new New York.
That statement impresses me. I'm in my 70th year, and I said something the other day that 70
Nice.
the new 68. So I'm not as impressed with being 68 as all of that, and I'm not impressed with San Francisco as the new New York. I wish I would have gotten to see Willie in that first part of his prime. They left in 57, and I didn't get to see Willie until he came back to the Mets, until he came back with the Giants to play in, ironically, the Polo Grounds against the Mets. And it would have been good for New York fans. I appreciate the fact that San Francisco Giants fans got to see him out here. He didn't shine like he did in New York only because, well, there are two things. First of all, Cepeda and McCovey were San Francisco's players. It took a long time for them to adopt this New Yorker, and he didn't have as much room in center field to run around and be great as he did in New York. And it took a while. He didn't have Leo DeRocher. It was a strange city. He was going through some marital stuff. He was great. He was as great as anybody ever out here, too. But, wow, New York he still had it was still fun for him. And he made watching the New York Giants a fun experience. And, Willie, if you're listening to this, just want you to know how loved you are. And when you talk about the Giant family, he's really he's the papa right now.
He's the cornerstone of the Giants.
Yeah.
He's the cornerstone.
Keep hanging in there, Willie. You're one loved human being. And
85, man. 85.
Yeah,
tough,
right.
The good Kings
wow.
with Ali and Howe. I don't want to be even thinking about a baseball guy. I don't want to be thinking any of that stuff.
Yeah, well,
hey, kid.
I think about stuff. Mose Allison is my music guy, and he's about 85, 86 years old, if not even a few years older. And I think one day I'm going to wake up and Willie's going to be gone, Mose is going to be gone, and Frank's already gone. Ella's gone. Geez, Mick's gone.
But you're still here, Ralph. That's what matters. That's what matters.
It does, because somebody has to wash the dishes at 908 Lincoln Avenue.
While Tally's making the soap, you're washing the dishes.
You know, that it's a pretty damn good combination. We doing it that way. Tally Olsen makes soap, sponsors us, and if you go to Facebook, Telly Olson, you get to see some of her soaps. If you go to our website, you get to see them. And
are those well scented?
have fun together working on the project of Comfortably Zoned and all that stuff. So I don't
Is that a
want
liquid
you to,
or a bar?
The soap?
Yeah.
The soap is a bar. It's a bar soap, and she has several different styles. She makes frogs. She makes little baseball hats, all kinds of stuff. So
awesome.
get on the swag list, Patrick Quinlan. To do that, you got to come back and grace us again.
Oh, yeah.
Will you do that?
Brought to you by.
You're brought to you by, right. There's a Dodger Dogs.
Unical. Go down.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys, and I'll ask it on the air because I'll forget it if I don't. From those days, do you guys remember a guy named Doug Emmons that worked in the Giants front office at all? Doug Emmons.
That name does not ring a bell, Ralph. Does not ring a bell.
I remember the Pat Gallaghers of the world, the Duffy Jennings. As of the later,
but
John
not
Patty
the Doug Emmons.
Okay. Daryl Evans?
No, he was Emmons. E-M-M-O-N-S.
Oh, gotcha. What position?
Well, what he did was, and this is back in those years, he arranged for folks to come in on trips. Like if I lived in Sacramento, and I did this for a while for the Giants, I'd get, like you'd go into State Farm Insurance and you ask them if they want to take an outing, and you put them on a bus to San Francisco and arrange it with the Giants to get them tickets.
Doug Emmons worked in the ticket department with Arthur Schultz. Arthur Schultz was the guy in charge of tickets.
The legend.
Doug worked in with tickets with on the events and group sales for Arthur Schultz.
Well,
but
what I would
went
do is be part of that. I'd be in Sacramento, filling up buses that would come in to Candlestick, and I worked with Doug Emmons, and I think that was 1976 that I did
around
that.
the Alan Murray era when he was the president of the Boosters.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, you have a hell of a memory. We're going back, 40 years now.
Me and my mom, God honors commitment, the baseball guys, for about 5 years. We'd go up to his little office in San Rafael, and one of his assistants was Jerry Davis's or something's wife, ironically, was a trip. And we just fold flyers for spring training, and then go back there in a month and fold flyers for the next couple trips, and then come back and then fold flyers for the for like all-star games. I even did that when I was at that point. And he took a group down to San Diego for the '78 all-star game, and so Alan was good to me, and he was one of my great. He was so cool that was the year where 8x10s were, if you were a solid, and then Alan Murray. Health stuff, some other stuff. But I would go, Alan, I still need some 8x10s that were missing from last time I was here. Well, all those 8x10s came into play when me and my brother, when I started bringing up my signed 8x10s, and then me and my brother had arguably the greatest giant sports bar in the country for 20 years. So I had about 70 8x10s on the wall with bats and the Willie Mays wall. And the Willie Mays wall was from the great Fred Kaplan, who took baseball card photos for Topps and Sports Illustrated and the Examiner. Fred Kaplan, he passed away. But so that was a great era. So he had all these A to Z in these cabinets. So he would miss them. I'd go to C for John Cumberland or Withers, old school guys. And I go, oh, good, you got Withers in because I got to see him. He got traded to the Cubs. And all those 8x10s, man, of that era, and Von Joshua, and all these guys, man. And, Alan Murray, that was a big deal. Now they don't need any of that stuff. None of that's, they only do the cruises in the winter now or something.
Yeah, Alan Murray was, what's his name's brother, Hall of Famer, switch hitter. I can't think of his first name.
No, Alan Murray was the booster guy. Not that. Rich Murray was who took over.
Oh, Rich. Okay. You're right. Rich Murray was first baseman with the Giants. You're right.
Yeah, he coaches private school up there.
Okay. This has been fun, guys. It always is with you, Timmy, and we'll catch you same time next week. You could look for this posted this evening because what I'm looking for is a final score before we sign off. Can you help me there?
Oh, yeah, we're going to hang tough here through the game at least.
Okay. Let's get a win just for the vibes. And beating the Dodgers is always sweet, no matter when you do it. And hang in there, everybody. Thank you, Timmy. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Patrick, too. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to have you on soon again, okay?
Oh, yeah, thanks, buddy. It was awesome.
Ralph. I love you, man. I love you, Ralphie. You guys be good.
Love you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Talk to you next week. Be well. Thanks again, Patrick.
Bye-bye. Thank you.